It began with a sound that no one was ever supposed to hear.
He's the one who saw it?
Yes, he says he pulled a girl out of the car.
I would like you to forget about her.
Yeah, that's what I heard just before the tire blew out. You're right, it was a shot.
He recorded a murder they say never happened.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. This is Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
What up, people?
This week, we're going to be discussing the 1981 suspense thriller Blowout, starring John Travolta, Nancy Allen, you know her, don't you? And John Lithgow, shockingly enough. A Brian De Palma classic.
For sure.
Sweet Jesus. This is early Lithgow. So I don't think he's even anybody famous at this point.
Well, is this pre or post GARP?
I think it's pre.
All right. This is the role that got him the transgender role.
Absolutely. This set the stage for his entire career, no question.
All right.
Sweet
and Nancy
Lord.
Allen, of course, was the bone daddy of Brian De Palma.
Yeah, they were married. So therefore she was literally in every one of his movies. So she was his Sandra Locke for a few years there. So there you go.
His Mia Farrow, his Diane Keaton.
Those are talented actresses. So this is a different story. Wah, wah.
Nancy Allen was so bizarre in this. And it is fascinating to hear movie people talk about it. They're like, such a rich and complex role for Nancy Allen. I was like, what?
Okay, look, here's the thing about my relationship with Nancy Allen. I think she's a fine actress. There's nothing about her performance that I'm not digging. I just feel like she's kind of miscast in all these Brian De Palma where she's the sex kitten. And maybe it's my own personal thing where she just doesn't do it for me. So therefore,
she was perfect in Carrie, though. Perfect.
Because that's different. That
Right.
is kind of the bitchy high school girl kind of thing. Where even the PE teacher's giving her a smack. I mean, that's different than Dressed to Kill Nancy Allen or Blowout Nancy Allen, in my opinion. Maybe she just doesn't do it for me. Nancy, if you're listening, no offense.
We don't care. I argue that Carrie is, in fact, Brian De Palma's apex. Bing.
And it was all downhill
better?
from there.
What's better than Carrie?
No, Carrie's a classic.
What's better?
Well, do you want me to bring up his oeuvre?
In your opinion, what's better than Carrie in the Brian De Palma world?
I liked Untouchables quite a bit.
It's all right.
Shut your damn mouth.
It's all right. It's very superficial. It's a fun movie.
If we talk about Untouchables, I get to do my Sean Connery impression.
You
Okay.
try to work that in everywhere. I'll take that rapist for 200.
I'll take the rapist. You send one of his to the hospital. He sends one of yours to the morgue.
The morgue.
I messed up that. That's not what he says, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
You brought a knife to the gunfight. This is getting worse and worse. Let's see.
As we all know, again, Sean Connery is the best part of the Untouchables.
Oh, no question. Let's see.
It sure as hell wasn't Kevin Costner.
Okay, let's talk about this since we're going down this rabbit hole. Phantom of the Paradise? What do you think? Not better than Carrie.
I always get confused. Is that the one where Kiss is performing at Magic Mountain?
No, that is not the one where Kiss is performing at Magic Mountain. This is like Phantom of the Opera, but he's like, the dude's haunting like a disco palace or something.
Oh, we'll have to put that on the list. What's the one where Kiss is at Magic Mountain?
Right, it's like Kiss starring in the Phantom of the Roller Coaster or something like that.
It was not called the Phantom of the Roller Coaster.
It was called Phantom of the Theme Park or something. I mean, I could look that up. I'm only going to look up so many things. Okay, so The Fury. Did you ever see The Fury? I like The Fury, actually. That's where, like, again, it's like a dude with psychic powers Old Kirk Douglas is in that. John Cassavetes is in that. Dressed to Kill, which I love, but I will not argue that Carrie is a better film than
The
Dressed to Kill.
Phantom of the Park.
Phantom of the Park. There you go.
Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park.
I love Scarface. That's a Brian De Palma classic. I might still argue Carrie's a little bit better.
I forgot about Scarface. I remember being so disgusted with the chainsaw in the bathroom that it took me years to actually.
You don't really even see anything, but it's just the idea of it, right?
It's enough.
And
Al Pacino's acting is so terrible.
Oh,
it's really not that good.
I can do my Al Pacino in Scarface. She love me tomorrow, man. She love me tomorrow, okay? Her body is so polluted, okay? Thank you.
Is that the line you used to hook your wife?
That's what it was. That's the scene. That's the scene where Scarface, Al Pacino, is talking about Michelle Pfeiffer, his wife at the time. And Chicana no case, man. Chicana no case. Her body is so polluted, man. Yeah, very upsetting. Michelle Pfeiffer was not happy at that moment.
No.
There you go. The world, Chico, and everything in it, man. Okay, moving on. It's
so
quasi-offensive. I apologize if I've offended anybody with my...
but not by the Scottish accent.
No. I love that one. Untouchables, we talked about. Casualties of War with Michael J. Fox. That was De Palma's...
I did see that. It was upsetting.
Yes. Then it starts to go off a cliff. Carlito's Way, another Al Pacino classic. That's a good one. Mission Impossible, the original with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one too.
I stand by Carrie.
And then it's off the cliff.
It's off the grid.
So there are definitely films in there that I like. And frankly, I skipped over Body Double. We're going to do Body Double at some point with Melanie Griffith. That's a classic as well.
God,
so
I hate Melanie Griffith. And the reason we're doing Blowout is because I was listening to the podcast. TCM, Turner Classic Movies, has a podcast, and they did a whole thing on the making of Bonfire of the Vanities. And they were all talking. They're like, anyone could have made Bonfire of the Vanities, but only De Palma could have made Blowout.
That is true.
Like, it's got to be good. They're like, I mean, Bonfire of the Vanities. I finally watched it. I was like, this is so terrible.
Well, that's what they say. It was a debacle, is what they say about it. I've actually never seen it. But
apparently the people are supposed to be so terrible, but they're really not that terrible. They were being menaced by these dudes, and she hit them with a car and took off. Yeah. And that's the crime of the century. And then Tom Hanks is supposed to be like this terrible person. Come on.
He's Tom Hanks. We love Tom Hanks.
He's Tom Hanks no matter what. He's cheating on Kim Cattrall. Who cares?
Oh, poor Kim Cattrall.
She's the hardest working woman in show business, but her character was so off the top in Bonfire. It was crazy. But anyway, so I was like, this must be really great. And then I watched it, and then I was like,
okay, well, let's not spoil the reveal. Give us your 30-second synopsis of Blowout.
All right. So it has kind of a Hitchcock vibe to it.
As do all his movies.
Okay, well, this is the one that I thought had a Hitchcock vibe. I didn't pick it up in the other ones. And we forgot to mention Dennis Franz is in it.
Of course he is. He was De Palma's muse for a few years there, for God's sakes. But go ahead, sorry.
And we had the reunion of Nancy Allen and Vinnie Barbarino, so that's always a classic too. So anyway, there's a sound engineer recording sounds out in the forest because people are like, we're tired of hearing your old shitty sounds. Get new sounds. And all I kept thinking about was Ed Wood's, where he made a whole movie just out of spliced old. What do they call that? Like B-reel shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And here they are bitching and moaning about this. So anyway, he's in a forest. He picks up some weird sounds. Here's a car crashing, and realizes this car didn't just crash. It was that he hears a gunshot. Anyway, when the car crashes, he jumps in the water, saves a woman. It turns out there was somebody else in the car. Well, they didn't find that out till later. The senator passed away. Intrigue, murder, what's happening? The government is corrupt. Vinnie Barbarino saves the day, goes back and does some weird shit with the sound equipment. The end.
Now, had you never even heard of Blowout before?
I think, because I watch a lot of shows about movies that I've heard it talked about. Like it's a movie person's movie.
Right. I had heard of this movie. I definitely didn't hear about it at the time. I think it was definitely within the last 10 or 15 years that I heard somebody first mention Blowout to me, and I had never seen it before. This is my maiden voyage, if you will.
Right.
And I have to say, it's all right. It's all right.
I ain't gonna watch it again.
Well, it's okay. It's not so that you'd be like, well, this is a piece of crap, but it's not so memorable that you're like, oh, I gotta hit this 5 more times or whatever. But people like this movie a lot. I'm kind of ambivalent.
Me too. And my notes are incoherent. I think I wrote Blowout, pajama dance party. You never noticed the dude in the hall.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We got to jump in because I have similar notes. Because, yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Basically, yes, the movie opens up with a killer. And I wrote down, is this a bordello? Because every window he walks to, there's like, explicit sex in this window. There's like naked women dancing around, pillow fights in this window. I'm like, what in the hell? Allegedly, it's supposed to be like a college sorority house or something along those lines.
Because that's what it all goes back to men's fantasies of what women do when it's only women. And we're always like, when we all go to the bathroom together, we're talking about you guys. We're not having naked lesbian dance parties.
Don't wreck my fantasy, okay?
Literally every one of these movies directed by men, we're all sitting around just in our chonies with no bras on, like slapping each other's boobs and admiring our own breasts. This is what they think women do.
Yes. And anyway, so then, okay, it's all shown from the point of view of the killer. So what you're talking about is that there's a scene where the killer is now in the hallway of the sorority house or whatever it was, clearly like right next to people, and people don't seem to notice.
Which is weird. Hey, I'm in a sorority, and there's this weird dude just in the hall.
Yes.
We live there. We would notice strange people there.
I mean, he'd have to be a damn ninja, because he was like literally right behind people as they're like knocking on the door. Hey, Sally, let us in. And he's like right behind them with the knife. I mean, they cut to a picture of him. It's like George Kennedy or somebody. It's some dude who's about 60 years old.
Kennedy, yeah.
Wearing a members only jacket. I'm like, what the hell is happening? Now, it's later revealed, like, okay, this is a scene from a movie that they are editing at the moment. They're doing the Foley work, I guess, right? And that's when we meet John Travolta, who works as the sound engineer, like you said, for this like B movie.
So the Foley
house.
work is the guy sitting there with the shoes, clomp, 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 the coconut for the horse feet.
Right. So he doesn't do that, but he supplies like, here's the sound of the wind. Right. Here's the sound of whatever. Okay, he's the guy who brings that.
A car flying off a cliff.
Exactly. Thank goodness that happened while he was out there.
And thank goodness he has a brain like a computer, so he can remember. First comes the owl, then comes the leaf flutter, then comes the cicada mating, then comes the gunshot.
Exactly. So yes. So basically, the scream of the naked woman in the shower is ridiculously horrible. I mean, it's like, or some, I don't know what it was. The mating call of the elk. It was some bizarro thing. So the director, or whatever he is irritated. And he's like, we need to get a new scream for this. And this sets up later in a most horrific way that we're going to talk about.
Super bizarre and creepy and tasteless.
It was. So he's out in the middle of the night, like you said. He's recording the ambient wind and
let me stop you. I think the ending is actually an old Hollywood urban legend. It's starting to filter into the back of my head somewhere.
Oh, that might be. Go
ahead.
So he's recording. There's a frog croaking over here. There's the owl and he's like eavesdropping on some couple trying to have a nice evening walk for some bizarre reason, just because he's a freak. Literally, the lady's like, "Why is that man staring at us? He's creeping me out. Let's get out of here." And he doesn't go like, "Ooh, my goodness, you're right. I shouldn't be." Instead, he's like, really staring.
Turns the mic towards them.
Yes. Double down.
Okay, so, how about 40-year-olds? You go to a hotel since you're clearly married. If you think you're going to get busy at a public park,
I don't think they weren't getting down. I thought they were just having a nice little walk out by the swamp.
He wanted a touch and a feel.
Well, who doesn't at this stage of the game? For God's sakes. Okay, so like you said, he happens to be out there just in time to see the titular blowout occur, essentially, that sends the car crashing into the swamp. He jumps in and saves the girl, but the driver was killed. Did you notice when he jumps in, you see a creepy character kind of scamper up behind him, like step out of the shadows and kind of run off?
Oh,
did you see that?
I don't think I saw that.
Go back and watch that. At the time, you didn't know because they didn't zoom in or make any great reference to it. I think later it was revealed like that was Dennis Franz, who's Andy Sipowicz.
I just have melodramatic music when the crash happened. It was all very...
Yeah. The music choices were a little on the nose, to say the least. We were just like, what is happening? What are they trying to do here?
And then I have Wet Streets, Red Blood Lights, Look Like Party.
That I don't know. You lost me with that one. I always love the party game we play where it's like, my notes are unintelligible, help me decipher them. Sometimes I'm able to, sometimes not. It's not an exact science, for God's sakes. Then they cut to at the hospital and people are just smoking away. I guess it's 81. Back then, you'd have the doctor like literally with an ashtray in the operating room at this stage of the game.
Those are the good old days. That's when I can just take my friends could walk me aboard my plane, and we all had a cigarette as we just walked through security onto our plane, and there were ashtrays in our seats.
Right. The good old days when you'd have a smoking section like literally a foot from the non-smoking section. It's like, really? Do you have some magical power to stop the smoke from wafting over here while I'm trying to eat my Egg McMuffin?
It was literally just this arbitrary row based on how many people wanted smoking versus non-smoking.
I remember back in early 2000s, I went on a road trip from Long Beach to New Orleans.
I remember that.
Two smokers, and I'm a non-smoker. It's the pits. We were hotboxing across 4 states. And then we get there and we're like, let's get some breakfast. And because at this point in California, even it had been so long ago, they had, outlawed smoking in these public places, even back then. So we were going to Denny's or something and people just puffing away. And I'm like, I'm trying to eat my moons over my hammy. And you're hitting me with the poison cloud. It's like, what the hell?
Your friend reaches over with a cigarette and just puts the ash out in your runny egg yolk.
Pretty much. But that's, if you're rolling with smokers and they say smoking or non-smoking, they're saying smoking. So I guess that's where I'm sitting too.
Didn't you tell me what you got there? Your friends all wanted to watch Angel instead of going out.
No.
It was something like Angel or Buffy was on, so you had to wait before you could go out into New Orleans.
You know what's funny? In my twisted mind, when you said Angel, I was thinking of that early 80s exploitation movie where she's a honor student by day, a Hollywood hooker by night. That Angel?
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of that? Oh, it's a classic.
No.
Check
I'm
it out.
talking, of course, the Buffy spinoff.
Yeah. Well, that might have been. Who's to say? Sweet Lord. So, okay, John Travolta meets Nancy Allen. She was the woman in the car. And I kept thinking, is she simple? Because it seems like,
The
I don't know.
accent is pretty simple. She had the most bizarre accent.
I mean, was it supposed to be kind of like she's from Brooklyn or something? I don't know what kind of.
Like the South, or she was like Southern simple. I don't know.
It's about as good as my Al Pacino accent of the stage of the game. It's ill-defined. Let's just say that. But so the reveal is, I think she says she works at Nordstrom's or something, selling or handing out scents. But by night, like Angel, by night, Hollywood hooker. But she's not a hooker.
Hollywood Madam.
She basically. Go ahead.
She's an escort.
Well, it was basically like her whole job. She had a deal with Dennis Franz, who was a photographer of some sort. And they would catch men in compromising positions, let's say.
A honey trap.
It was a honey trap. And I guess she said she never actually went through with any of the things. Like, she didn't have to do anything because Franzi would kick in the door at just the right time to get the pictures.
Dennis Franz literally had the shirt where he looked like he just vomited over himself. It was so disgusting.
Yes.
And he looks like he's 4 feet tall. So he's a 4 foot tall, strangely bald man with just yellowed cottage cheese down the whole front of his shirt.
Yes, he lived in a shanty. He was basically Bilbo Baggins wearing a stained wife beater. It was a sad situation. I literally wrote that down. Do you not have a clean wife beater you could throw on? No can do. Again, this is Dennis Franz, who went on to great success on Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue, anything with blue in the title, the Blue Bloods, for all I know. Who's to say?
It is a whistle in this, though.
Which, thin as a whistle for Franz. Let's
clarify.
Yeah, he ain't Twiggy.
But it really didn't matter because all you saw was the cottage cheese. He's trying to get with Nancy Allen with just crust flinging off. It's so horrible.
Yeah, his filthy wife beater was definitely pulling focus. Let's just say that. He was upstaged by his wardrobe. Very upsetting.
My stomach hurts now thinking about it.
It's making me I'm getting the heaves as well.
Let's move on, shall we?
Sweet Jesus. So Travolta and Nancy Allen kind of have a romance that kind of blossoms out of this.
We discovered that she literally has no family or friends, and so is literally just all of a sudden attached herself like a lamprey to Travolta.
Right, because the issue is, oh, sweet Jesus, the man who died was a presidential candidate. He was like the governor of the state or something, who was like up by 30 points, like it was going to beat the incumbent. So I get. I
think what it was supposed to be a scandal, but they'll take the assassination because why not?
Well, okay, yes. So it's revealed because Travolta's the one who's like, there was a gunshot, and people are like, I don't know, it just seems like a blowout to me, pal. What are you talking about? No one believes him. It's revealed over the course of the movie that Franz was paid by the president's, Richard Nixon, whatever the case may be. And it's basically like, hey, we are going to set up this honey trap situation to create a scandal so the guy won't beat the incumbent, is the idea.
Right. But not unlike the stuff, the person they've hired has gone rogue.
Right. John Lithgow is involved in the planning at some point. He's a CIA assassin, I guess. It's ill-defined.
It's just like the stuff. Maybe if
Ru-
they had some of the stuff mixed in there, this might be even a little bit better.
If you haven't seen our episode covering the stuff, please do check it out. Otherwise, you'll have no idea what the hell we're talking about. So he goes rogue and he shoots out the tires of the car and causes the blowout, which caused them to drive off the cliff and crash in there. And the governor was killed in the crash, I guess. Now, here's my question to you. If this is Lithgow going rogue and shooting out the tires and the blowout was not supposed to occur, right?
Right.
Then why the hell was Dennis Franz there ready to videotape it?
Maybe they just didn't anticipate him dying.
No, it says like Lithgow's talking on the phone.
They thought it was going to be like a Chappaquiddick, and then maybe she would die, and he'd roll to shore, and there's a dead hooker in his car. Well, not that Chappaquiddick was a hooker, but you know.
Right. Well, there's a scene where John Lithgow is talking to somebody, his superior, and the superior says it was only supposed to be a scandal. There wasn't supposed to be anybody who dies. And Lithgow was like, well, if you might recall, I didn't agree with that plan. So I shot out the tires and...
Yeah, so then at that point, then it makes no damn sense. Unless Franz has been following this dude because he psychically knew, like the Fury, like he's got the fire starter and he knew that there was going to be trouble.
He had a George C. premonition. If you want to go back, please check out our episode discussing the Changeling to understand what the hell we're talking about. But I think there was a scene where Nancy Allen is yelling at Dennis Franz saying like, did you know? Because again, she was in on the plan. I don't think she knew she was going in the drink. Right?
You're not going to volunteer for that.
You ain't volunteering for that. Especially considering later Franz is like, hey, they paid us $3,000 to do it, and then another $3,000 afterwards if we're successful. And she's like, another $3,000? He's like, I didn't mention that, did I? That's my Dennis Franz.
I spent it all on wife beaters.
So clearly not on the maid service. That's for damn show.
So,
go ahead.
Vinnie Barbarino, then they came out like in People magazine has come out, or Life magazine has come out with a shot by shot of the accident. So he cuts it all out and makes a flip book. So it looks like there's a Zapruder film.
If the Zapruder film was a flip book.
It could be. Merry Christmas.
Yep.
And syncs it. And then photographs it onto videotape and then syncs it to the sounds.
Right. Because he recorded it all with his microphone, I guess.
Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing smoke coming from the grassy knoll, nor do I remember seeing the bullet going through there. You just hear a sound and the car crashes.
It's okay. On the crazy flip book moment, it's hard to see. You see like a little light in one of the frames. When he gets the original film from Dennis Franz, then you can see it very clearly. That there's like literally, you see probably a guy sitting there with a flashlight and his gun shooting. So then you can kind of see what the hell's going on. But I have to tell you, when John Lithgow appears in the movie, I almost fell out of my chair. It was a shocking revelation.
I put down he looked like our brother Bobo.
Brian, if you're listening, no offense. Because it's like, we don't see his... I don't think it was meant to be a grand reveal, because again, this is early Lithgow. This is not famous John Lithgow. This ain't Third Rock from the Sun John Lithgow. You know what I'm saying?
Very young and very thin.
Right. So he starts going extra rogue, because he's like, I have to kill Nancy Allen because she knows too much. And so therefore, to make it seem less shocking when she's dead, I'm going to murder a bunch of innocent women just to establish a pattern like there's a serial killer on the loose. So that's Lithgow's.
No damn sense. All they could have done is, yes, you had to replace the tire because it had a bullet hole through it.
Yeah.
And then what? And then just be quiet and shut the hell up. Wait it out.
I guess we're supposed to think he's
crazy,
Craig.
weird sound guy. Yeah,
Right.
He's Rogue. Oh, and then maybe you can decipher this.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
I think I wrote Vince of the Triangle.
Vince of the Triangle.
It looks like voice of the Triangle. No,
that's not any more helpful.
Is there any triangle anywhere in this movie?
Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to DM Erin with your idea of what nonsense she is spewing.
The rest of everything else I know makes sense.
So, okay. They keep cutting back to the movie production house because they're having trouble filling that scream. So there's like two girls in a sound booth, one screaming, and again another ridiculous, unusable scream while the woman's pulling her hair, and you hear the director go, "Pull her hair, pull her hair." Still sucks. Okay, switch places. Now you pull her hair. It's like, is this how we do it? I don't work in Hollywood.
Now have a slap fight. Now have a tickle fight.
Right. Now that I'd be okay with. So the grand reveal is John Travolta gets the film, syncs it with his soundtrack. So now it's evidence of something, that somebody shot the tires out. Doesn't reveal who shot the tires out. It's not like it's a smoking gun in the sense that, so there was foul play, but it was
an assassination.
It was assassination, but it really doesn't reveal who the killer is or what their motives are or anything like that. So it's not
correct.
It's not like we got to take this to the papers in that respect, I guess. But I guess maybe it would make the police investigate. And make them actually do their job, I guess. Is that what we're supposed to think?
We're supposed to think many things.
We didn't even talk about John Travolta's backstory. Before he worked in Hollywood, and again, he's actually working in Philadelphia, so not Hollywood. He worked for the police as the guy who would, if you went undercover, he would rig up your hidden microphone and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Except apparently wasn't very good at it.
No, he sucked at it. He sucked at it. The one time he did it working for the police, the guy, I guess, got too sweaty because he was nervous and started getting shocked by the microphone. And therefore revealed himself to the crooked cops and the mobster that he was in the car with, that he was secretly recording their interactions. And is promptly murdered by the 60-year-old police captain off screen. I kept thinking, because John Travolta's like, he's being shocked. I got to get in there. Runs in there. Like literally the guy walked into the room 2 seconds prior. Travolta rips open the door and then the guy's hanging there by his neck dead. So we're supposed to think the 60-year-old police captain murdered the guy and hung him up by himself. A guy, the undercover guy in the bloom of his youth, let's say, murdered by another George Kennedy reference. George Kennedy took care of him. Although George Kennedy is actually a very large man, so who's to say? Good times. That drove John Travolta off the police force and into making crappy B movies in Philadelphia. So, is this not important? It would seem not important, but
then,
yeah.
So
go ahead.
He wires up folks to get confessions, and of course, the same thing is happening all over again. Except the person's being electrocuted. And then, of course, ends up getting murdered. Thank you, John Travolta. You've killed again.
You've killed again. Well, what happens later in the movie is the investigative reporter for the local TV station is like, "Hey, Travolta, if you get that film, I'll have you on the show and we'll reveal it to the world, blah, 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 blah." John Lithgow hears about this. And he does something to basically jam Travolta's phone line. And he calls Nancy Allen and says, "Hey, I'm that reporter that's supposed to meet John Travolta. Why don't you meet me alone at the train station so that you can give me the film, essentially.
Right.
So Travolta's like, oh, I'm not going to get screwed again. I'm going to put you under microphone. I'm very suspicious, but not suspicious enough, evidently. And you'll meet the reporter while I lurk around outside. I don't understand what the hell was happening.
It didn't make a lot of sense.
So Lithgow meets Nancy Allen, is like taking her somewhere. Clearly is like, my plan is to murder you as soon as I get you out of sight here.
Right.
But of course, it's a lot of like near misses where it's like, oh, if I get around the corner, I'll murder you. And then like somebody's like sweeping some trash near. Oh, damn, I can't murder you here. Let's get on the train. And Travolta, I guess, what's happening? He's like, he susses out that it's not who he thinks it is, that it's actually evil John Lithgow, who he's never met.
Right.
And he's driving.
It all goes back to his spidey senses. They were tingling.
So they're on the train, taking the subway somewhere. Travolta gets in his car and is driving like a maniac through town, plowing through the parade, the 4th of July parade. Who knows how many lives were lost during his crazy rampage through the streets.
We later learned that John Travolta is, in fact, have killed more people in the film than the actual serial killer. It's reckless disregard to life.
That's reckless, vehicular manslaughter.
Electrocution.
It's a sad situation. So Lithgow now reveals himself as the killer, and he tries to go after Nancy Allen. Travolta's running up, pushing his way through the crowd. She's up on a balcony, screaming, Jack! I'm going to be murdered. There's 1,000 people in the crowd. Only Travolta can hear this declaration, though. For some reason. He's like, no! Pushing his way up there. Lithgow pulls out he's got like the Garrett wire that comes out of his watch. Literally, it's the same one Robert Shaw used against Sean Connery in From Russia with Love. For some reason, he's got it. Travolta makes it upstairs.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
It's the classics that work. They're classics for a reason. And Lithgow's got like an ice pick, and he's going to get her with the ice pick. Travolta comes up behind Lithgow and forces Lithgow to stab himself.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Right. There wasn't much of a struggle. And it wasn't like he stabbed him once right in the aorta or something. It was like 15 stab wounds. I can't even begin to resist, Travolta. You're too overpowering. So you think Travolta saved the day. Spoiler alert.
Womp womp.
Right. Lithgow strangles you before he stabs you. So she was already dead.
She was already dead. And in fact, in Blowout 2, it is discovered that her mother comes back and is the killer.
That's correct.
It's a reverse Jason.
It is exactly. They should have been watching her, was what she says.
Absolutely. And the mom goes hunting sound engineers who think they're electronic wizards.
In the greater Philadelphia area. Oh, sweet Jesus. And I have to say, that was a kind of a shock. That was kind of a shock when it's revealed she's dead.
I thought there might be a happy ending in these movies, but apparently not.
No, there wasn't.
There was no happy ending in Carrie, that's for sure.
That's for damn show. So then you think, oh, what a bummer. Cut right to credits? Oh, no. Not cut to credits. It reveals like John Travolta looking like a psychopath, listening to her screams, because remember he was recording the whole thing on his power pack and hidden microphone.
He's in his bunker, just listening to her death over and over on his big reel-to-reel.
Over and over, and the grand reveal is that's the scream they used for the serial killer movie they were making at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going...
Sick fuck.
Literally, you're like, are you serious? Have you lost your damn mind? This is what you're going to do with it? Oh, this is a
my
great
God.
scream. Yeah. I'm doing Vinnie Barbarino. I was about to. No, I'm not.
I'll do Horshack. oh.
Right. Yeah, good times. And it went from like being strangely moving to, the fact that he doesn't make it in time. He doesn't succeed in saving her life, to just like outright, what?
You're dark, dude. You're a creeper. You're sick. Yeah.
I literally wrote, he uses the scream, ... question mark, exclamation point. I couldn't believe it. It was like, what in the hell are we doing here? Travolta.
Yeah,
this is how you honor her sacrifice?
I was Googling through half your tirade. I cannot find the urban legend about in a certain movie you hear a scream and it's an actual murder victim. But I swear to you, and this is how urban legends get started, I swear to you, I remember hearing something. I can't think of the movie, but I did remember hearing some story that you hear a scream in the background and it's some woman dying.
It sounds vaguely familiar. That doesn't make it true, but it does sound story. Movie. That's it.
The blood is tainted. The blood is tainted.
Exactly. Wah. So, sweet Jesus, shall we talk about behind the scenes? Are you ready? Since we zipped right by the WTF moments.
All right, tell me some Dennis Franz stories.
Oh, you know all about Franzi. Let me see. Give me 1 second. John Travolta suffered from insomnia during the shoot. His lack of sleep helped him create a very moody performance, and is why his character seems so downtrodden throughout the movie.
And this is pre-Scientology, I think.
Oh, this is way before Scientology for him. No question. Tarantino stated in an interview that this is his favorite Brian De Palma movie. And this is why he actually cast John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Because he liked his performance in this movie so much.
Well, in Carrie, he was such just a jerk, He was such a jerk in Carrie.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh, don't stop calling me stupid. It makes me mad. And then he like punches her in the face or something ridiculous like that. And then he goes in with a sledgehammer to all the Farmer John pigs. Oh, but yeah, he was fine in this.
Well,
I always just see early John Travolta. It's always the same thing. What?
John Travolta's got a very interesting career because he went from being a sweat hog on Welcome Back, Kotter to Carrie, Grease, Saturday Night Fever in some order. Just boom.
Honestly,
he's the biggest star.
The sweat hog is Saturday Night Fever 2 years later.
Right. It's that kind of, right. Yeah. New Jersey.
My girlfriend loves the taste of communion wafers. That was such a terrible movie.
Good Lord. No, Saturday Night Fever, if you haven't seen Saturday Night Fever lately, it is a hell of a lot darker than you remember. It deals with suicide.
It was upsetting then.
Oh, good Lord. It's not all dancing.
The priesthood, suicide.
Oh, yeah. Abortion.
Abortion. It's not all. And quite frankly, that takes away from half the movie. You just want to see the dancing because the main character is an asshole.
Yeah, he is. Tony Manero.
Why do you always hit my hair? I work hard on my hair.
That's the best part. My hair.
My hair.
Yeah. Well, and then there was the sequel, Staying Alive, directed by Sylvester Stallone.
Just from the ads and the amount of oil on these hairless bodies, I knew to just turn away. I've never seen it. Don't
do it. No, Travolta. So he had that moment. By the 80s, the wheels were already starting to slow down a little bit. He was in a few things.
He got the Urban Cowboy. That was huge.
I liked Urban Cowboy.
I did too.
But it was also like he did Perfect, which was about like health spas. He did Two of a Kind, another one with Olivia Newton-John. His career kind of hit the skids for a few years there. And then he kind of came back with Look Who's Talking, which kind of allowed people to go, oh, yeah, I kind of like him again. And then Pulp Fiction really kind of kicked him back up.
Except that, what did he do after Pulp Fiction?
How dare you? Face Off? Face Off?
That was such the most terrible movie.
He did many fine films.
Movie.
Many fine films.
Just peeling off your face doesn't make you look like another person. There's bone structure.
I disagree. It's just good science.
It's just good science.
Al Pacino was Brian De Palma's first choice for the role in Blowout. So there you go. Oh, good Lord.
I don't know.
So when they cast John Travolta in this movie, the studio was like, hey, we should bring back Olivia Newton-John. She can play Sally. And De Palma said, I'd love to, but I'm married to Nancy Allen. And she's insisting on being in every one of my movies. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if that's exactly what occurred.
There was a bunch of stuff. There were a lot that people were saying, oh, he just put Nancy Allen in it. But then the Defenders, according to my TCM podcast, it was a perfect role and she captured it. She doesn't need to ride on anyone's coattails.
She's
like,
okay.
She's all right.
She's not
quite
bad.
Frankly, Olivia Newton-John is not a great actress.
Well, she's a singer. I mean, she took 2 weeks acting course. What do you want?
Were they going to flip this into a musical? Blowout. My name is Olivia Newton-John, and I'm singing the theme to Blowout. Kind of do like a Spy Who Loved Me kind of a thing.
Why not? You're acting like that's a bad idea.
I think everything is better if you could just turn it into a musical.
No, okay. Nancy Allen is actually pretty good in most of the things she's in. I watched a Clint Eastwood movie recently with Sandra Locke. That is
a dead fish.
She's a dead fish. Sandra, if you're listening, no offense.
Frankly, so is Clint Eastwood for most of his career.
How dare you? That's a bridge too far.
It's flat affect, reading lines, squinting.
That's his move. What?
That's it. That's his. And don't get me wrong, I like him better than Costner. I've seen all his movies, so you can tell that I'm clearly more Eastwood. Not now, though. I saw that blood work, and I think somebody licked his chest. I don't want to see
I did see that. Yes,
chest getting licked.
And that was 20 years ago. That was 20. Blood work was 20 years ago. He got a heart transplant, so he had a crazy old scar on his chest. And yes, the 45-year-old woman who's old enough to be his granddaughter is licking his chest.
Oh,
good time.
I remember seeing it in the theater going, ooh.
That was the most terrifying part of blood work, let me tell you.
Oh.
Brian De Palma got the idea for this story while doing the sound mix on his previous movie, Dressed to Kill. Now, what's even more interesting is this was not the only movie inspired by his experiences on Dressed to Kill. The other movie that came from that was Body Double.
Body Double.
Based upon the fact that they used a body double for Angie Dickinson in the shower scenes of Dressed to Kill. So there you go.
Oh, that's right. We already did Dressed to Kill. Because I was like, Angie's looking pretty good. You're like, that's not her.
She still looked pretty good.
I don't know. Because the naked Angie Dickinson with her super blonde pubes was not Angie Dickinson.
Poor Angie Dickinson. Sergeant Pepper, policewoman. So there you go. What else?
You still have told me nothing about Dennis Franz.
Dennis Franz his own wardrobe for this movie.
Oh my God!
Previously broken in.
His own spin-off.
He's a method actor. What?
I wanted you to tell me he was drunk the whole time and then put a move on Nancy Allen, and then Brian De Palma had a busted chair on his head.
He was so in character, he could not stop himself once he got the engine revving. Very sad. Sweet Jesus. So you talked about how this movie was kind of a homage to those old movies of like Psycho or North by Northwest, directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
I think we're starting to be a little over generous there. I mean, inspired. Like Conjuring 3 was inspired by
Copied. Let's just call it what it is. Well, no, and it's the same thing. Like Dressed to Kill has when we discussed Dressed to Kill, we talked about it was basically a ripoff of Psycho on some level,
right.
because that same kind of thing where it's the guy is just dressed up as a woman and killing people because the voices are telling him to do so, kind of thing. But it was also very much like the style was what he was going for as well. I think Brian De Palma is a good director, obviously, but I do feel that he often is the master of, I am kind of doing homages. Like I'm constantly homaging somebody else's work. You know what I mean? That's my feeling.
In Carrie, who is he homaging? Because I'm telling you, I think that movie is solid. The story is solid because he didn't write the story. But
I mean, maybe that's the case. That kind of gets him through the door. But it's like Scarface was a remake. Untouchables was based upon the old show from the back in the day. I mean, a lot of these things like adaptations, like Carrie's an adaptation, Bonfire of the Vanities is an adaptation.
Right.
So
but that's okay. I mean, if you're a director. But if it's different, that's different than if something's an homage. So I'm going to take a story, but I'm going to make it this other thing. I'm going to shoot it in the style of this person.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe so.
I don't know.
Nancy Allen suffers from claustrophobia. So when they were shooting the scenes of the car underwater, filling up with water, she was greatly distressed, as you might imagine.
I bet she was. And again, I will take a Nancy Allen over Mrs. Banderas any day of the week.
Melanie Griffith. Oh,
God, she is so
sad.
irritating. She is so irritating.
Well, we're going to do Body Double at some point. So I want you to mentally prepare yourself. Shall we talk about the cast?
Let's do it.
We're going to talk about him some more. John Travolta played Jack. You know him from Pulp Fiction, Get Shorty, Grease, and Saturday Night Fever, etc., etc., etc. Not much lately. Although he did call Idina Menzel Adele Dazeem for some reason when she was singing the theme from Let It Go from Frozen on stage in the most hilarious moment. Adele Dazeem.
That's the Scientology. It ain't working. You must not be paying your dues, man.
Nancy Allen. She was formerly the Mrs. Brian De Palma. She played Sally, the escort, I guess.
With
you
the
know her
weirdest
from
frickin' accent.
You know her from Dressed to Kill. You know her from RoboCop, RoboCop 2, and RoboCop 3. She does what she can. John Lithgow played Burke. I don't think his name is ever said in the movie, but it's possible.
Okay, like Burke and Hare.
Burke and Hare. You know him from Third Rock from the Sun.
They would suffocate people, but they would do it by sitting on their chest.
He was in The World According to Garp a year later. He was in Cliffhanger, Sylvester Stallone movie. Yeah, which is actually a good Stallone movie.
Wasn't that Billy D in that? Or is that Nighthawks? Who is
That's Nighthawks.
I love Nighthawks.
Sylvester Stallone and Billy D were hunting down the terrorist Rutger Hauer. Nighthawks. There you go.
That's why it's in my head.
That must be.
Oh, I love Rutger Hauer.
John Lithgow also played Dr. Emilio Lizardo in Buckaroo Banzai. Yes, good times. Dennis Franz played Manny Karp. You know him from not good stuff. He was in NYPD Blue. He was in City of Angels, which is the remake of Wings of Desire, playing the Peter Falk role.
And I never saw it.
No one
Nick
did.
Cage is in that, isn't it? I'm sure.
Nick Cage and Meg Ryan. Yep.
I'm sure you own that.
I do not, actually. That's a bridge too far. Dennis Franz was also in Die Hard 2 and Psycho 2.
No, Psycho 2.
You know it, don't you?
With that chick who was with... oh, no, I'm thinking of the remake of Psycho. Ellen's old girlfriend and Vince
Portia de Rossi?
Vaughn. Yeah,
no.
Anne
Heche. Anne
Heche.
Yes.
And Vince
The
Vaughn.
shot remake of Psycho. Good time. That was worth our time. I did
that
see
was
it.
not necessary.
No, it was a shot-by-shot remake that had to include a scene of Vince Vaughn basically beating his meat as he's watching Marion Crane through the people. I don't remember that in the original Psycho.
Shot by shot, exactly. They're like, this'll top Hitchcock by doing this. We need
That's
more
exactly right.
masturbation.
We need it. Let's talk about the ratings. It is currently an 85% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me see if there's any top critics.
I'm sorry,
here.
did you say 85%?
85%. Cray. Let's see.
Do you remember what the ratings for Dune were? They were high, right?
I think they were. I don't remember off the top of my head.
All right.
Very sad. Pauline Kael. It's a great movie, is all she said. That's helpful. Roger Ebert.
Boom.
4 out of 4. A movie which continues De Palma's practice of making cross-references to other movies, other directors, and actual historical events, and which nevertheless is his best and most original work.
So he said this is a perfect movie.
Perfect. Vincent Canby of the New York Times says, Blowout is the work of a high-spirited, irrepressible director who takes the effects movies
High-spirited.
can produce far more seriously than he takes the characters they seem to be about. 4 out of 5.
Am I dead inside? Is there something I'm missing here? I feel like they're talking about a movie other than the one I saw. Maybe there's a different Blowout.
The director's cut. That's right.
Yeah. I saw the Foley artist cut.
The sound engineer's cut. So what do you got? Lay it on me.
I have just a malaise when I think of this. I don't hate it. I don't like it. I wasn't that interested while I was watching it because it had such a buildup.
Yep.
And yet, what did I give Dune? Like a 3 or something?
What am I, your biographer? I have no idea what you did a week ago.
Who's my note taker? I'm trying to remember.
Get somebody
now.
in here. It doesn't matter. What do you think about this movie, Dan?
Okay. Then I am going to say that it is, in fact, 2.75 grams of Dennis Franz Upchuck out of 5. Boom!
You disliked it more than I did. I think it was 3.5.
I don't even dislike it. I'm ambivalent.
Ambivalent.
I do not hate it. I do not love it. I don't think about it.
I gave it 3.5 out of 5 George Kennedys chasing co-eds around the naked bordello.
Sure it wasn't Jamie Kennedy?
It could be. Could be. I didn't hate it. It didn't bowl me over. If you're flipping channels and you happen to see it, I would say probably give it a little gander.
Well,
I thought
that's how I found it. I was watching the TCM horror Halloween. This is Halloween night marathon, and it was on. I'm like, I have my notebook with me. I'll just start taking notes.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yes.
That's
and
hilarious.
I texted you. It said blowout.
I found it. I found the ending very shocking. Frankly, the death. Spoiler alert. I guess if you haven't seen it, enjoy. When she is murdered, that is shocking to me. So.
That at the end, I say, is the best part. Between that and the hook where he uses her scream at the end, because clearly he's a twisted individual.
He must be.
Yeah, I would say that's more. Am I saying Clive Barker? It's a little Clive Barker-y. It's a little ooh.
A little Barker-ish.
And then the Cenobites pop up. That's what it
Why
took.
not?
Open the puzzle box.
So, thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Would Die. Aaron, we're on Instagram.
Yes, we are.
What is the address, damn you?
We are the podcast that would die on the Insta, on the Twitski, on the Face, or on the Meta. I don't
On the
know.
Face. What is happening? So you can also email us at the podcast that would die at oh, sweet Lord at gmail.com. We are on Gmail. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. Aaron, what is your personal social media, for God's sakes?
I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. Don't forget to tithe. That is on the Insta. I also have Don't Feed the Pigeon on the Insta. I am on the Twitterverse. I am the Cult of Aaron.
Enjoy. So next week, we'll be doing the horror classic Fright Night. Enjoy.
Are you sure we haven't done that already?
We have not done it in this platform. I will say that.
I'm almost ready to do zombie. I'm almost ready.
Are you?
Almost
We'll definitely do that soon. Fright Night. You can watch it on Fubo. You can watch it on AMC Plus. There you go. If you have DirecTV or any of those channels. Otherwise, you can spend $3.99 at Amazon Prime and enjoy.
I'll be watching it on Fubo.
Do you have Fubo? Not Tubi.
Not Tubo. Oh, do I have to pay for that?
What the hell
I'm tired.
Not Tubi, not Pluto
TV. Is that
TV.
the black clothing line for us, by us? Do they have a network now?
That's Fubu, not Fubo, but okay. Good times. So, thank you very much, and be well.
Hey, people. This is your friend, Aaron. Can you go get vaccinated? Thank you.